Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey, everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I want to talk to you about Palantir and talk to you about CrowdStrike, talk to you about Snowflake, who just had a almost 15% drop today. I just wanted you to know I got my account back. I was able to lock in. I still have that scam app being embedded with my account, so they can potentially post anything at any time, and I would not be able to stop them. I have done everything I can to really alert my viewers, really alert my followers to let them know that this is happening, and if they keep on coming up with these scam posts, it's on X at this point. I'm going to go straight to Palantir first. If you ask me whether or not Palantir is going to go up higher, I would say, what time frame are you talking about? Because I have a channel here, and I can potentially see it just keep riding up the channel over the years and get into triple digits, really, maybe within the next 3 to 5 years is kind of what I'm thinking. And I'm going to basically show you why I think that is, because I think that if you just base on the fundamentals, I think there's a great growth story behind it. Valuation is a little bit rich, based on paper, but I honestly think they're going to grow into it, because if you're talking about competition, they really don't have any. If you're talking about the fact that they have a multifaceted business, both from the government side and they're growing the commercial side like crazy right now, based on all three earnings that we have recently. I mean, I just can't imagine Palantir to kind of stay stagnant. There are a lot of other catalysts, such as like potential S&P 500 inclusion. I mean, granted, it might have a little bit of front running so far. And we recently just had a big giant flush all the way down to like the 21-22 range and found great support, and you have a great engulfing candle. Anyway, there are a lot of things I've seen both on the fundamental side and the technical side. I see a lot of escape velocity. With that said, would I want to go in all calls in the short term and go crazy with Palantir? The answer is probably not. And there are a couple of reasons why I would say that. First of all, I mean, you do have a little bit of bearish divergence here on the weekly, right? It's there. It could potentially break the bearish divergence and go a lot higher, and it could go up on bearish divergence, but you have the RSI kind of going down a little bit. Price going to go up a little bit. So your price is going up on bearish divergence. It's been doing that really since like June 2023. But that's not all. The only other thing, and like I might be bearish on Palantir, no, like that's not my thinking. But you're talking about things are getting a little bit heated here. You might hit up to like around like 33, 34, 35, and that could be the top of the range over here of this pitchfork. So I do anticipate maybe some kind of resistance there. And when it has resistance, I can potentially see it coming back down to back test the level around like 29 to 30. It's a very important level here, because that was like these highs over here, and this is a big giant range over here that's been going for almost a whole year, and you just broke out of this top of the range. I do think at some point it'd be healthy kind of back test. I don't want it to go way too far and then back test it in a very brutal way. I'd rather just kind of back test it right around like now, or 33 or 33 or 35, kind of just come back down, tap it, maybe just tap around 30, and that'll be a very healthy back test. Maybe 29, 28. That'd be a very healthy back test before you could keep riding channel up higher. That would be wonderful. It would also be back testing, the volume shelf level over here. You just had to break out. It's nice to have a little bit of cool down, if you will. I also can see that the bullish band is expanding, but it needs time. Right now, price is still lagging the Bollinger Band expansion. It just couldn't get too far too fast. It has to give it maybe another few weeks for it to really expand, to really truly have that velocity going. So I can totally see it kind of back testing some of the stuff down here before going up higher on the channel. That is going to be my primary case. And of course, you know what I'm going to do about it? I'm going to do nothing about it. I'm just going to keep holding it. But that's just kind of what I'm thinking. On the higher time frame, actually, before I do that, just look at the weekly channel for Palantir. I am going to show you in terms of why I think that things could hit like triple digits in about 3 to 5 years. Is because this kind of channel really does remind me of something like Amazon, where you're talking about having, and this is a weekly chart for Amazon, you're talking about having a big giant channel just been going up for about 2 decades. Because Amazon has been growing. They were a very high valuation company. They still are a very high valuation company, but they also have great growth ahead of it. Not just from the delivery side or the merchandise side, but also from the AWS side. And they continue to reinvent themselves, and they continue to want to go up, riding up on the channel here. I can totally see Palantir doing something like this, although right now, if you're talking about Palantir, it is on the upper part of the channel, and it wants to keep going up on the upper part of the channel. Now, is there any potential in the future, around 3 to 5 years from now, where it gets to about triple digits and all of a sudden just kind of come back down, back test the lower range over here? Maybe some kind of black swan event that can cause Palantir to drop like 50%, 60%, entirely possible, and overall it would still be a bull trend, right? I just cannot really be that bearish on it. On the monthly, I think the biggest concern I have and why I think that it needs to cool down is because it has been a little bit overextended above the monthly Bollinger Band on the upper part of it. You see every single time when it happened, what happened afterwards, you get a little bit of short-term correction. Right, I'm not sure we're going to end up having to go down that much further. I do think that maybe a little bit of a sideways candle here for month of September would be a very healthy thing. Maybe back test around like 29, 28 before going up higher. Would be very healthy because it's way outside the upper Bollinger Band right now. On the Ichimoku cloud analysis, gives you two lines over here, the Tenkan and Kijun. You want to know what these things mean? I have a tutorial video available on members only that I just made last week. But yeah, you're basically seeing that the Tenkan continues to serve as support during this bull trend after it flipped it from resistance. None of these things are bearish by any means. It looks like I just kind of want to keep going up higher, but it is being restricted by the Bollinger Band. It just can't go up in space without cooling down and expanding Bollinger Band up a little bit higher before going up higher. I do think that the Tenkan, the blue line over here, is probably going to end up becoming flat over the next couple of months because it usually takes into account for the last 9 candles, and so far, it basically subtracts the bottom of the last 9 candles to the top of the last 9 candle. So basically, right now, the price right now is this price over here plus that price over here divided by 2, right? When are you going to get rid of these candles over here? I think we're probably going to be another 2 months or so, 3 months or so maybe, is to get rid of the bottom of this candle over here for the Tenkan to really ride up, right? You don't really want price to go up way too fast above the Tenkan. So I do think that there are some things that I'm seeing overall that might be holding Palantir back for the next month or two. Am I going to sell? Heck no. It's a pretty high conviction play that I have. And even on the weekly here, it looks like a little bit, way too far extended away from the Tenkan and the Kijun. And see what happens before when it does that. Things kind of get a little bit exhausted. But with all that said, why am I not selling and trying to buy back lower? Because this is not 100% certainty. There's nothing that is that certain. You have this price going up on declining volume is a little bit concerning. My whole entire purpose is almost this. My whole entire purpose is to want to talk about technical analysis, tell you what I'm doing because I just want to share my thoughts in general. And also, if you decide to trade on my thoughts, that's on you. Feel free to do that. If you decide to want to just kind of listen in, my thought process is if you have a 10% drop in Palantir from here on out, is no big deal. That's my reasoning to kind of talk about these kinds of things, not because I want to help you to trade Palantir. If you want to use what I'm saying to trade Palantir, that's fine too. Happy to help you out, if you decide to do it, but none of these are financial advice. Anyway, that's kind of one thing that I do see maybe a little bit more concerning on the short term, but overall I'm not bearish at all on the long term. And those are my quick thoughts on Palantir in terms of CrowdStrike. If you ask me whether or not CrowdStrike has bottomed, my answer to you is I think so. Bounce from the weekly Ichimoku cloud, bounce from the monthly Ichimoku cloud formation at the beginning. This is the leading span A. Again, if you want to know more about this, you can join my membership. I had a video there, a tutorial, tell you what all these lines really mean and how to interpret them and what you should do about it if you want to, right? Not financial advice, of course. But it bounced where it needed to bounce, actually closed back above the Kijun. CrowdStrike's looking pretty decent, but you know what? Everybody just wanted to buy up here whenever things just go up a lot higher. I don't think people are really that interested in buying a CrowdStrike right now. It's understandable. You do have some resistance here. You are hitting the top of the Ichimoku cloud over here, right? So it's not probably necessarily going to make like a V-shaped recovery. You do have resistance at the Ichimoku cloud, which is having a hard time getting over right now. It's also got some resistance up here and the Tenkan Kijun Fusion around 300. That's going to be a hard one to get over. I think this is probably going to end up being like this for the next several weeks. And if you're able to break above the cloud, you're probably still going to have like 300 as a resistance there. It's probably going to be pretty strong. But can I say that I think it's bottom? If you ask me, I think this is bottom. This is a very, very high capitulation candle. I think it's bottom if I have to guess, right? Again, all this is probability game, a lot of confluence at that level that is just kind of bounced off of. So I'm gonna stick with it for now with my technical analysis. We'll see how it goes. The issue is more resistance. Current resistance around 268 is a pretty strong resistance level at the top of each cloud. Again, 300 is going to be a strong resistance level up there too. Now, if you're able to break above all these levels over here, if you look at the monthly, the thing can continue to kind of rise. But I think it's probably going to end up going sideways from now. So I think that Tenkan is probably going to be like around 302 moving forward for the next couple months. So that's going to be a pretty strong resistance even on a higher time frame chart. Yeah, it's probably going to end up having some time to kind of think about what it wants to do. But I do think that if you're bought down here like 200, good for you. Bull in Japan, why I'm still bullish on the stock is because the 20-month moving average is rising and the entire move is basically just got way too far, way too fast. It's just back tested the 20-month moving average. Very, very nicely bounced, right? And now it's kind of hitting the resistance levels over here, I still think that this overall is a bull trend and it's probably going to end up continuing on the bull trend moving forward. You know what is not in the bull trend? You know what is not in the bull trend? You know what is not in the bull trend? Snowflake. Ticker symbol SNOW, S-N-O-W. This thing has been absolutely vicious. And I just want to show you sometimes technical analysis can be technical analysis, but you might also have to have some of the fundamentals that go along with it, meaning that you could very well see a few bullish things over here. I'm seeing one thing over here that I felt very, very bullish about before, and it did end up kind of working out a little bit. Depending on where you want to draw this ascending triangle. It really depends on where you want to draw this ascending triangle. You could draw it down here, or you can draw it up here, with these wicks over here, and you can draw a different time frame. You can draw on a weekly time frame. If you do a weekly time frame, it really looks like you have a breakout of this ascending triangle, the false breakout over here. This is a pretty important resistance level. It will break above of it. Got rejected from some pretty concerning earnings, and it just went back down to back test the bottom of the triangle. That would have been a good spot to buy for technical analysis, right? Nope. Decided to just break through underneath. And you had another bad earnings report. Next thing you know, you have a big giant sell can over here. Now, with that said, do I feel that that's probably as far as Snowflake goes? We're going to talk about that. But ascending triangle is supposed to be bullish. The fact that it broke underneath the ascending triangle is a low probability event that happened. And when it happened, it really does get me concerned. And it just made a lower low over here compared to the low over here, right? So there are a little bit of concerns here. Now, I do have a couple bullish things I have to say about Snowflake, although I am not entirely interested in getting into Snowflake at this time. One thing I am looking at that I'm bullish about is on the weekly time frame, you're starting to have a little bit of building of like bullish divergences over here, where price just kind of went down, you have RSI kind of go up. So these are some pretty positive momentum that is building during this downtrend. I think this downtrend is really decelerating for real this time. And I think that this could have been the bottom because you're starting to see a little bit of bullish divergence that's being built up here. Now, this is just a lower time frame bullish divergence. If you look at like a 2-week chart, if you look at a monthly chart, you're not going to see any bullish divergence at all. I'm going to get rid of these lines because obviously this idea didn't work out. And I'm going to talk about what kinds of things that I would do if I was going to catch a falling knife, which I'm not on this particular case. But what makes me feel bullish about it? I gotta say, one thing is a lot of people talk about Wyckoff accumulation, right? I think that this is looking like a Wyckoff here, doesn't it? What is Wyckoff? I guess this is a reaccumulation thing, but basically things just kind of go sideways. You have the reaccumulation, and then you also have just accumulation in general after price just kind of gone down a lot. You have all these peaks and valleys, things just go sideways, resetting a lot of technicals, trying to get a trend change here on a higher time frame. But on a lower time frame, it basically just goes through some pretty brutal sideways chop, and then at the end, it gets everybody out of the stock, and it finds an area where there's a huge demand, and that's when it usually is the catalyst to really push the stock up a lot higher. And we call that the spring, right? I don't really do much Wyckoff anymore. The reason why I don't do that is because it's relatively subjective. And you have all these different schematics and always have to work up. But this certainly looked like maybe that's the channel that I was talking about with the creek over here, And this is like a little bit of a lower low over here, right? So that could have been the spring, and this could have been the test of this level, right? So it's just something to kind of think about when it comes to Snowflake. If you want to catch a falling knife, it might not be a bad area to catch that, but again, I'm not catching this. The other thing to kind of consider when you're catching a falling knife would be it's probably better to catch it when it's like way outside the lower Bollinger Band. On the weekly, it was outside of all lower Bollinger Band, and sure enough, what happened? Well, all the Bollinger Band traders end up buying it up, and basically people are paying attention to these kinds of things. You just can't price getting way too far away from the lower Bollinger Band, and if you do, generally the risk reward ratio is generally pretty decent. And also, if you just look at a higher time frame here too, another bullish thing about it is, they're granted like the Bollinger Band continue to expand, right, and the 20-month range is pointing down, so this thing can continue to go down a lot further, right? But if you're going to catch a falling knife, it's not a bad spot to catch it when it's like way outside of monthly Bollinger Band, right? So I don't really want to catch that right now, but no thank you. But it does look pretty decent. Another reason to kind of consider catching a falling knife would be this. There are a few ways that a stock bottom. One way is through high volume, increasing volume capitulation, or just get everybody scared and get all the weekends shaken out, right? Which happened here from December 2021, November 2020, all the way down to like May to June 2022. You have huge volume capitulation that happened. A lot of people who wanted to leave the stock had already left the stock, and people were holding on. They really weren't interested in buying or selling. And you had a very nice tweezer bottom over here, which is generally a very, very good bottom. And you made like an ascending triangle up here. It looks like it wants to break out and go up. But the earnings, the valuation just wasn't there sustained. Here's another thing to kind of warn you. One thing I usually like to look at is the Bollinger Band with the 20-month moving average. If the 20-month moving average is pointing up, generally I think that the trend has changed. And in this particular case, the trend looks like it has changed initially, but the earnings were just so disappointing that it dragged it down. Like, this is one of those cases I really think that the whales wanted to accumulate, but the earnings just didn't really fit the bill. And it's just ended up reversing a lot of these potential bullish development. And so far you have, how many candles? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Relatively high volume selling. I think a lot of people down here that wanted to sell is already selling already. So to me, I feel like the risk reward ratio down here is not bad. Again, am I going to buy Snowflake? The answer is no. Because I have Palantir and I like the chart and I like the fundamentals. I'm going to stick with Palantir. But if I am to get into Snowflake, it may not be a bad area to buy it at, based on a lot of things I just kind of showed you. I generally won't even touch a stock now if it's a falling knife, unless I see some kind of bullish divergence, which I saw on the weekly, unless if I see that it's on the lower end of the Bollinger Band, which it is on both weekly and monthly, and unless if I see a lot of the flush that has already happened on decent volume, then I would consider buying it, but I'm not, because I don't want to get into this right now. Again, I much prefer Palantir. Follow the bull trend, but on here I can totally see this potentially being the bottom in August 2024. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's what happens when you catch a falling knife. You can be wrong. I've caught falling knives and I could keep on going being wrong. You can keep on, the price keep on going down on bullish divergence. It happens all the time. All it's totally telling you is that the momentum is slowing, and if you want to catch a falling knife, it's not as gravity pulling the knife down anymore. is actually starting to slow down. It might fall into your hand, it might fall through your hand, but it's not gonna, really cause any like major injury, like as if it was like all the way up here. It could still cause some pretty major injury, but it's not going to be as bad of an injury up here. I feel bad for, actually I shouldn't say I feel bad. I feel that people who end up buying this, if they, yeah, it happens. Don't feel bad about it. But I'm not gonna get into Snowflake just because I actually do pay attention to the fundamentals and I do like Palantir more. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now. I hate being a bear on stock, but I'm hopefully I'm able to give you a little bit of hopium to cope with when it comes to Snowflake. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one. Bye.